We missed last week because we were busy flopping around eating chocolate over Easter, but you're back in the no-flop zone. We're taking Tom out with myself, Boti Nagy, and of course Joey Wright. Joey, some interesting things have happened in the past week. We had looked at Kendric Davis. We were sure he wasn't coming back to Adelaide. We had him at Perth or Sydney. It's Sydney. What do you think of that move?
I think it's great for all involved. I think he, in that environment, I think Sydney has probably the best on-court, off-court situation in the league of everybody. Melbourne would be probably close. But I think they have the best on-court, off-court, so the best culture of most of the teams in the league. Illawarra definitely has great culture. Tasmania has great culture, but he's going to a great culture place. And I'm hoping that resurrects his personality to the place it needs to be.
I completely agree. I think Dellavedova being there,
yes,
as a guy who's won an NBA championship, then you've got as sort of like an older brother to keep him some of the habits he had in Adelaide that maybe wouldn't be well received by the Kings. He'll keep that in check, help him mature as a player. And then you've got Bogut as assistant coach. He's got a direct line into Steve Kerr as coach of the Golden State Warriors. Luke Longley also part owner, so it's a good environment for him to go in.
Yeah, I think it's a great environment. And like Delly is, if we take players in the history of basketball, he'd be in the high character end of any player that's ever played. If KD can get a little bit of who Delly is, he plays 10 years in the NBA.
It's also interesting that Matt Weston went to China. The Adelaide 36ers sent him to China where Kendrick was playing to sort of say, Kendrick, please come back. Here's a wheelbarrow load full of money. Come back to Adelaide. Do you think that was a total waste of money on behalf of the 36ers, given that Mike Wells is still the coach here?
Well, I think it was just a wasted chance. But Matt's from, he's lived a long time in China. Probably wants to go back and see some friends. What a great trip.
Excellent, if you can afford it. Yeah. Talking about the 36ers, pretty much all of their free agents are gone. It looks like nobody wanted to stay here.
That's what it looks like, and I mean that's obviously what's turned out. I mean, most of the guys that had an opportunity to leave left, but it probably says a lot about what's going on and what they felt. This is what's interesting. This is the most successful team they had since 2019, and they still since 2017, probably the most successful team they had. No one wants to come back.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that say?
It's interesting what's happening in Perth now, though, because two of those players, Sunday Dech and Mayen, have gone to Perth on longer contracts. For Dech, he's going back to where he won championships when he was first in the league. And now they've also re-signed Dylan Windler, and they've also re-signed David Okwera. They've got Christian Doolittle back. That's starting to look pretty interesting.
Well, my man JR.
Your man.
My man JR.
Who shot JR? That's just an old reference.
They won't
know.
I barely caught into that one. Who shot JR? No, I think he's doing a great job down there. And Perth has always had a really good culture and community for basketball. And what a great place to go play. I mean, if I had a chance to play in that arena, it'd be pretty special. So I think it's a great move. I was surprised that Lat left. I mean, Lat he had a great year here, a really great year here, and I'm surprised they let him leave. Like, I would have paid him. He's that guy 6'8", 6'9", shoot the ball like he does. And
they messed him around a bit though. He's a starter 1 minute. He's hardly playing. He's filling roles. They did muck around with his.
But I don't think it bothered him. He just got out there and did his business. He got out there and went to work. I mean, it may have bothered him internally off the court. I don't know him personally, but he got out there and went about his business, whatever was going on. And I thought would be a guy you could look at over the next couple of years as maybe being one of your key starters.
You're a big fan of JR, aren't you? You really like his sets that he runs. That one where you're bringing it down the floor and you just shoot it. It's a good set, that one. I like that one.
If it goes in.
So now, though, we already got John and Dean Vickerman as Australian coaches in the NBL. How does that come to? What do you think of that? Because I mean, you're American born. I mean, I know you're Australian now. You can hardly stay away from the Vegemite. But like, how do you feel about the fact that Australian coaches aren't really getting opportunities?
Well, let's break it down in a couple ways. One, when I came here, coming here as an American coach wasn't actually an attractive place to be. I mean, if you came to Australia for basketball, you came because you loved basketball. Or I loved Australia. You wasn't coming for Australian basketball.
Right.
And I think a lot of the coaches now come for Australian basketball because the standard has risen, visibility has grown. So I think people come down here to further their careers. And it is no more, I guess, greedy people than Americans. So they see an opportunity, they're going to go for it and take advantage of it. I think that's one side of it. I think the other side of it is when you dismiss an American coach, nobody cares. Public doesn't care.
Right.
They have no ties, no hooks in it. They could care less. It's a lot easier for the league. It's a lot easier for all involved if you just go away. I'm sure a lot of people would like to hear my voice.
Wait, let me get this straight. You're saying that it's easier to sack an American. So we're not appointing Australians because we just want to sack Yanks.
I think it's easier to get rid of them, and I think it's easier for them to buy into whatever the status quo message is. Whereas if Australian's been here for the last, all his life, and he's, 50-something years old, and he starts to coach, it's going to be hard to bullshit him. He knows what's going on. You bring a guy in that's been here 1 or 2 years, you can bullshit him all he wants. He just wants to do well so he can get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Cairns Taipans have yet to appoint a coach for this season. I spoke to Mark Beecroft, the CEO, yesterday at quite some length about what they're doing, and they are actually doing what Brisbane allegedly did, which was searching the four corners of the earth to find the right man, not knowing that he was just sitting across the table making the decision on who's the coach. They're actually looking all over. So, because I mentioned Kerry Williams and Joel Kalu as guys that we've thrown up as possible good-looking candidates. Yeah. He didn't dismiss that, but he said we are really throwing the net wide because for them, it's important that their coach is able to identify talent, that's coming from lesser places, which is what Adam Ford has been able to do.
Well, why'd you get rid of Adam Ford?
They didn't get rid of him.
He wanted to go?
Yeah, he wanted to go. He could. He'd be there. If he wanted to be there, he would be there now. And that's why when these rumours came up about him coaching Brisbane, I thought, no, that's bullshit, because that environment that he was in, that he created, he could have had that job for another 5 years.
I thought he did a great job up there. I do think they have some stuff to deal with off the court. I know people who played there, and they probably have some things that they got to deal with and fix up off the court to get some players there and coaches there. But it's a great opportunity. It'd be great to see it filled with an Australian coach. The disappointing part about it is I've been all over the world, and Australian are some of the best coaches I've seen all over the world. Like if you take a collection of coaches, it's some really, 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 really good coaches here, and they're not getting the opportunity. It would be sad to think that it's a Bevo or a Sean Dennis or a Gordy McLeod or Chaco that's out there now that's not getting an opportunity.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say about what's happened, I know we were going to talk about United and we haven't touched them, but we will in the future. More has happened with other clubs, but I was really intrigued to see the comment that Brian Goorjian made, which was, and I quote, "There's a formula to winning this thing." That's what he said. And I think that formula is have more cash and buy good players. Is that the formula? Because that formula didn't seem to work for him at Illawarra.
Look, it's definitely the formula. You have to have a bunch of cash. That's your insurance, all right? You need to have, you can win it with not a lot of cash. You can definitely win it with not, but everything needs to go right.
Illawarra.
Tasmania and Illawarra, both Tasmania and Illawarra, but they spent some cash. Yeah. They spent some cash. Those teams were not strapped by any means. They just didn't have to use their emergency cash that they didn't have.
Yeah.
So you look at a team like Melbourne, no matter what happens, they can always replace that player, whether it's a local player, international player, Asian inclusion player, whatever it may be, they have enough money to replace that and keep going. Perth has always had that. New Zealand had that for a long time. It's just insurance money. Yeah. And if you don't need it, you don't need it. And Tasmania and Illawarra didn't get there. They won it.
Did you have that formula in Adelaide? I know you had that formula. There's a formula to winning this thing. I know you had it in Brisbane.
I exercised it in Brisbane because I had the opportunity to. My other two clubs, I did not have the exercise. Okay. The part of the formula wasn't there.
Okay. We've got viewers' topics now, with starting off with Hector G, who says, "You are both right. Everyone loves the local boy or girl, makes good story, and the team will be more popular with the fans if there is a strong local component." Surely Joey would agree with that.
100%. Okay. I definitely agree with that.
But people enjoy seeing their team win more than just have local players on it. So I'm sure Boti would agree with that. I do. So great show, guys. Keep it up. Good work. Well, that's nice, isn't it?
That is nice.
Okay.
You're not so nice when you don't hear my point, though.
Pardon?
About the local players.
I don't know, I wasn't listening. Okay, we got Stuart Briggs says, players returning home does not work, honestly. He says, I agree with Joey. See, there you go. It's one of your friends. It does not matter where people are from.
One of them.
Well, we had 3 of your friends, your close friends wrote in and 4 of mine did. So there you go. It does not matter where people are from, maybe starting in Adelaide when they were DPs because it's cheaper to play at home. But honestly, it doesn't matter. That's what he thinks. Arrhenius 1, he's got 4 words. Local players? Yes, buddy.
What's his name? Uranus?
No,
what was
Araneus.
Arrhenius.
It's on the YouTube page. You can find
Uranus, yeah, that guy. We love it.
Okay, this one was probably a reference to Stu Lash being the Brisbane Bullets coach. This is from S. Tomlinson, who says, sometimes calling your own number in a coaching search works out. I believe Greg Popovich did this at San Antonio when he was general manager. That worked out. But generally not so much. Your thoughts?
Generally not so much because you got so many people waiting for you to fail when you do that. Like when you take that route, it's a lot of people there going, yeah. And it's going to be a period for every coach where, you know, rubber hits the road and it's kind of like, do we get rid of this guy or do we keep this guy? And that group that was in that situation, they're going to jump on and get rid of the guy side real quick.
So Stu Lash, he's
got to perform. If he got to perform, if he doesn't perform, he's not going to get any sympathy votes.
Aaron Gogol, is a regular, says another great video, which is very kind. If the NBL is growing, are there any stadiums around Australia that could host games other than the ones we see them playing in?
Stadiums are great. Like for the most part, I don't see. I mean, you might want to upgrade Illawarra.
I think he mean if we expand, like other places.
Other places.
Like does Darwin have a venue? Or
Darwin has a venue. I mean,
but is it up to this? No. Okay. And there's a new one there's work being done in Tasmania.
Yeah.
Gold Coast, the convention centre.
Convention centre would work. Yeah. I mean, it's only 5,000 or 4,000, something like that, but it just comes up so well, and it's right there next to the entertainment area. It really works there at Gold Coast if they can get it done.
If you get 5,000 and you've got a good team, you've got a premium ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I think South Aussies just enjoy cheering on South Aussies. Oh, we've jumped into that. We've grown up cheering players like Ma, Rogers, Sencher, Ing, Bradkey, the list could go on. The club has been losing its identity for a while now, and for the last few seasons it's just about been a new roster each season, which makes it hard to follow and support the coach. Be interesting. What do you think?
Look, it's extremely hard. The first 6 years that I coached in Adelaide, we had the highest retention. Us in Perth had the highest retention of players, and that makes it easy to build the future and keep moving on. When you're rotating players over and over and over, it just makes it really, really, really hard. So I think that they got to do something to retain players wherever you're at.
Right. It'd be interesting to hear how far people would travel to the games. He says, I live in the Barossa, and I used to be a member and would attend most games, but haven't been to a game in a number of years. Well, I guess you want to have a team that's worth watching. So if you had a bit of local content, that might get you there. What do you reckon?
No, I don't think anybody's coming to see local boy that they don't know. that sits on the bench.
That probably would. He might come through SA Country.
Sitting on the
He's
bench.
in the Barossa.
Yeah, if he's sitting on the bench
Let's clear this up. My attitude about locals is that only that when the 36ers started as one merged team in that would be 85. Mm-hmm. Like this is the roster back here. This is the 86 Invincibles. Mm-hmm. Every one of the Australian players was from Adelaide. Now that's a rarity and probably has never been duplicated because you want to put the best possible team on the floor. Mm. What I've been trying to get across is that we have especially in Adelaide, we have a connection to the local players. So if there's somebody that's good enough, that maybe I didn't make that clear. If we have someone that's good enough, they should get their chance over someone comparable from interstate.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. If they're good enough, even if they're equal, I'm going with the local player for all the benefits that you talk about. It's where it's unequal, and this is where the problem comes in. The local distortion of what's equal. Like South Australians, all of a sudden, he's better automatically. No, he's not. Not just because he's from South Australia. He's not better. So therein lies where the problem comes from. I coached in this city, in this state for 8 years. All right, in 8 years, the great local players in that time, I signed. It wasn't one single, I guess what Shinter would have, he was already here when I got here. Majuk Dang I signed, Michael Harris I signed. I don't know of any outside of that I missed that were just outstanding players that would have changed our programs. Hence, like when Joe Ingles left or Brad Newley left, like Joe Ingles and Brad Newley are not getting past me if I'm coaching here.
And now Lachlan Olbrich.
And then Lockie, same thing with Lockie Olbrich. I would have had Lockie locked and signed before he even knew what was going on.
Lockie locked?
Locked and signed.
Did you intend to say that?
Locked and signed.
Okay. Does Boti know how to fish or enjoy fishing?
Nope.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Look,
don't have the patience for it. He doesn't have the patience for it.
When I was quite young, I went fishing. Caught
That
a
was
fish.
a long time ago.
Yeah, it was quite young.
Did they have fish back then?
Yeah, they did. And they were healthy too. They had no junk in them. Put it in the bucket. And while I was trying to catch the next fish, it's jumping around in the bucket, dying. And I couldn't handle it. I just could not handle it. I threw him back in. True story. I couldn't handle that.
So you don't eat fish?
Oh yeah, I eat fish.
Oh, you just want somebody else to do the dirty work.
Yeah. I eat meat too, but I ain't cutting off no cow's head.
I'm no killer, but if you are, I'm hungry.
I'm quite, yeah,
I'm hungry.
You've got your answer. Diva23 says, I thought to coach at NBL level you needed a certain coaching certificate or a badge or whatever it is. Am I wrong? I think they are wrong. I think, yeah.
You don't have, at that level, you don't have to. This is not governed by the state body of basketball. This is just independent. So.
That's right. This is pro sport.
Pro sport.
If the owner thinks this guy, then that's the guy. Ballaholic is back with an NBA question. Should we get rid of the play-in and the top 8 from East and West? Personally, I think it should be top 16, period. I can't see why a team misses out in the West with a decent record to let a team below 500 in the East get in.
I agree with that 100%. One, this playing crap is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like if we go 82 games and we don't know who the best teams are,
yeah,
that's ridiculous. Pick the top 16, 15, and play it out from there. That's what I like to see, no matter what conference too. I agree with that.
Okay. As a coach, so this is for you, do you pay more attention to a potential player signing if they come from good pedigree? For example, Stephen Black and his head coach father Alan, or right now with Flynn Cameron and Perot?
It's going to be certain attributes that I think a coach's son has that other players don't have. It's one, a mutual respect for coaching and how how to be coached. I love coaches' kids for that reason. Is they typically want to be coached, and they will listen and they don't arc up and they have a level of IQ, and yeah.
Also, as the player, how much more pressure are you under having a family member that came before you and was successful? That's a really good question because I experienced that.
Yeah, you experienced that.
With my wife, who was a champion player, and then having 2 daughters and the comparisons being made. That in the end, one went to Victoria to play and one went overseas to play. So to get away from that.
My brother was the better player of the 2. Growing up and all the way until we got to college, but I thrived on it. Like I'd walk, I walk in the park and they would say, "That's Billy's brother right there. Pick him up," like that, and I'd get a run on pickup just because I was related to this guy who could play. So I enjoyed it.
Is there a coach that maybe wasn't successful coaching NBL first time round that you think should be given a second chance? Someone he's given an example, CJ Bruton, for example. That deserve, because usually if you get fired in your first stint, that's it, you're one and done.
You're typically done. I mean, Mike Kelly had a couple runs at it.
He did get Cairns to a semi-final, though, which sort of probably bought him extra time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's some out there that deserve. I think everyone deserves a second chance in life. Sometimes it doesn't come around though.
The Perth Wildcats have inquired about Wetzel and Joe Luella-Chul. Now, I'm not a fan, but should a big like Kai Sotto be given another shot at the NBL?
I mean, I wasn't a fan of Kai Sotto's when he was here. He might have been young, and once again, he was probably maybe an environment that didn't work for him. So, anytime you're 7 foot, you're going to get more than a second chance. But Kai Sotto is playing money. He's playing now, and he's making money. He'll be all right. He's doing well.
Mr. TBA, to be advised, apparently. Question I'd like you both to answer. I don't like to sit and bag players, but who in each of your opinions is the worst Adelaide 36ers player ever. He's gone with Jeff Brown, who was an import that was very quickly replaced. Who's the worst player in your time with the 36ers, or since what you've seen of the 36ers? I've got the answer to this.
I'm keen to hear your answer, because it's hard for me to look at a player I've coached and said, "Oh, this guy was terrible," because I might see some attributes that maybe other people don't see. So it's hard for me to say that about anybody I coached. But
there was a young man named Kim Taylor that was recruited from Darwin or something. Apparently had some sort of college career. Not sure what. He had long, blonde, surfy hair, and he dived on loose balls. And the only problem with him was that he couldn't play. He had no clue, couldn't shoot, but he flung himself around, and I think people thought, well, that's good. We like a guy that's going to roll into the stands, and so he got a couple of years with the 36ers. He was playing state league. They found him out to state league at that stage, and he was at Norwood, and Norwood couldn't play him, like in the local comp.
In the local.
So then I think the coach of the Six at the time was a South Adelaide person, so he got him over to South Adelaide, where one of his mates was coaching. And
did he just prove my point? Did he make the team because he was from South Australia?
No, he's from Darwin. Oh. So they moved him to South Adelaide, and then in the end, South Adelaide couldn't play the guy, but he was still playing for the 36ers. Kim, if you're out there watching, you did great with very, very, very little. All right.
You killed the dude and then tried to pick him up. He's dead already. You don't need to pick him up, Patty. He's dead. Go ahead.
All right. NBA. Why is the NBA afraid to change the All-Star game, which is totally devolved into an absolute farce? Yeah. Why are they afraid to change it into USA versus the world?
Well, I think it's a reason for that. I mean, they always want USA to look bigger than the world, and if USA play the world right now, the world probably will win.
So I don't understand. I did understand that for a while, that they don't want to look bad in the league that they're running. But we're talking about USA, one country, versus the world, potentially another 200 countries. So it's 1 versus 200. So it's actually not a fair matchup for the USA. Realistically, you can say.
Realistically, yeah, 100%. There's millions more people.
So if they won,
to represent the world, but still, who's controlling the marketing? Who's controlling where are we playing this game at? We're playing it in America with mostly Americans, with mostly American money. Nah, they're not gonna let them lose.
All right, I got on here on the list, Coach's Corner. What would Joey do with the possible end of the Next Stars program?
It's definitely, and that's one of the things we thought we were talking about. I definitely think this is probably going to be the end of it, because
all the money in college.
Yeah, the money you make in college right now, you'd be stupid to come here. What Henshaw was offered, I don't know that that's true, and I can't confirm that, but I heard he was offered $1.5 million to play college basketball. Yeah. So if that's the case, like, why would you stay here and play? If you're under draft age and you can make $1 million US, why not go take that? It'd be stupid to stay.
Absolutely. I've just got as an adjunct to this, and this is a suggestion that Ben Fitzsimmons, one of our friends of the show, made, is it time for a South Sudanese NBL team, like exclusively made up of the South Sudanese players?
I don't think you do that. I think you're race baiting too much if you do that. Like, that's too... Nah, I don't think we say. I mean, they're Australians. They're they're South Sudanese heritage. No different than the Irish that are here. No different than the Scottish and English that are here. We can't single them out because of color and put them on one team.
Okay, I thought it might have had merit. It would have been fun to watch. I know someone that would have loved to have coached them, and he's sitting in this room, and it's not me.
I would love to have coached them. Their national team.
Okay, we're closing on the fact that Australia is playing New Zealand in 3 games over the next few weeks in the new Trans-Tasman Throwdown. Yes. The Australian team, I don't know if Adam Capehorn will be coaching them because Washington Wizards are out of it. But then again, it may be Dean Vickerman. What do you think of the team? We've got it up on screen. Todd Blanchfield, I'm talking about, he should retire. He's in the Australian team.
He's making a comeback big time. He's won a championship. Now he's playing for Australia. Have a great day with it, Todd. Keep going as long as you possibly can.
And this is Xavier Cooks' chance also to re-establish himself.
Well, he never had a problem on the basketball court. He's, just clean up his act off the court, get back out there. People forget about it just as they are with Josh Giddey. Nobody's talking about anything happening with Giddey right now. Get out there and play some basketball, Zay, and have a good time.
Okay, and we'll be back soon with me, Boti Nagy, and of course, Billy's brother.